Scorpio Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for June 6th to the 12th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology, very different from mainstream astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Scorpio Ophiuchus, this week it's all about integrating and moving forward this new moon from the previous weekend. And this was a new moon in your 7th house of relationships. So there's definitely new beginnings unfolding with that, especially because Venus has been involved. Okay, and I think a lot of it's about what you value in relationships. A lot of it's maybe where you can have more peace in your life regarding relationships. More acceptance, maybe. More unconditionality. Going with the flow. You know, this is all the 12th house, which Venus rules, suggesting new beginnings with that area also. So it might be separate, that there's new beginnings with your spiritual life. But, and then on the other, there's relationships. But it could be synergized in some sense. So whatever it is, a good week for cultivating that. One-to-one connections, both new and existing relationships. Great to challenge yourself with this. There's something here in this Grand Cross that you can really be challenging yourself with relationships this week. You know, and seeing the long road, the patient road with that opposition up to Saturn. The uncertainty with Neptune, having that, living in the present moment. Right, and that's cultivated by that Venus as well. So whatever it's been, and I think there will be more insight about that this week. That's going to be continuing this early part. And on Monday, that Sun and Venus go exact. So it could be on Monday that there is more insight about this. And the key with this, though, is that there's a lot of, I think, expression, a lot of passion in those relationships at the moment, which is that Sun in the 7th. And Venus going behind the Sun, it hides Venus, it masks it. So only the Sun is radiating. And the Sun by itself can be very, passionate, but a lot of energy, maybe quite harsh and direct when it comes to relationships. So it's important to bring extra attention to the self here when it comes to your interpersonal connections. And even attention to them, and that'll help keep everything nice and balanced so that, it doesn't run away with us with just the Sun. So in that way, there's a lot of insight. Like I was saying, there's a lot of passion, maybe what you really enjoy in relationships, expressing yourself in relationships, and you beginning with that, and maybe even some of that peace in them as well, through their acceptance and that unconditionality. So that's Monday, and then as we go into Tuesday, Mercury is going to start to shift into your 7th house. So you'll notice that your mind's probably less on the routine or daily activities as maybe it was these past, it's been a while. Mercury was retrograde there, so I think it was over a month. But now there's this shift of you starting to think more about relationships. Maybe working with them on a more practical level. Maybe getting deeper with them since Mercury rules your 8th house. Maybe for some of you it's about friends, connecting with them. So whatever it is, though, I think your mind on relationships can be great. You're learning about them. And, it's a good area, again, to work on because Mercury is that Virgo energy. It's about practical implementation, taking what we learn about them and putting them into practice. In the 7th house, relationships, a very important part of life. Now on Tuesday, we do have that conjunction Sun-Venus squaring up to the North Node, as well as Pluto starting to trine the North Node. So there's a lot of North Node shifting taking place this week. And this is all in regards to your career, your public life. Okay, that's where the North Node's recently gone into this year. So it's really the year and really the next 2 years, in fact, to cultivate your career, cultivate your public image, your work life. There's possibilities with that with Jupiter, but this week's a good time to challenge yourself here, especially because that's going to be the first quarter phase with the moon. So where can you challenge yourself to cultivate your legacy or your career, your productive life? And maybe it's about these new beginnings with relationships. How can you challenge yourself in relationships so that you're bringing and synergizing these two areas together, right? Because they're very different. There's relationships and there's work, but they can be synergized. There can be this harmony, and it's the integration point here of seeing the possibilities with the career and also cultivating your relationships. So that's the square, but in terms of the trine from Pluto, this is a very powerful energy. It's a good week for really making change, stepping into your power to make change with your career, productive life. Then on Wednesday, we do have Mercury sextiling up to Chiron as well as Mars trining Chiron, so there is some healing taking place. specifically because your ruler is going to be trining Chiron. So you guys, especially as you approach the weekend, will feel probably a bit more rejuvenated or healed. Now, there's a lot of deep energy going on with you guys because your ruler is in the 12th house. So there's this reflection about your deep spiritual self, maybe about your fears, your anxieties, your traumas even from the past. You know, this is all 12th house stuff. And the key with 12th house is to go through this acceptance work. All right, just like if you're, for example, we talk to psychologists and they say, first step is identification or whatever, but then we have to, accept these deeper things in life. But it's through that process that we find peace. And this is what's, the time for. It's such a good time this month. Mars is going to go direct at the end of the month, and you guys will be applying a lot of the stuff you learned. But it's such a good time right now to really be learning more about yourself spiritually, psychologically, in that deeper way. All right, and that's going to be shifting you, transforming you as we go into these following months. So this could all be very healing this week. Anything that is about psychology, spirituality, maybe even just getting some rest and relaxation, getting some more alone time can be also very healing. And I think it's also healing your sense of self-expression, which is Chiron in your 5th house, which is great. And that Mercury and opening for maybe healing in relationships, that's more of just an opportunity there, but that could be happening also. Then as we go into Thursday, Mercury opposes up to that Mars. So you guys want to bring extra attention to your communication and to your mind around Thursday, because sometimes with an opposition to a ruler like this, it comes out of nowhere sometimes, or this seemingly opposed thing, maybe in relationships or whatever, that's really pulling on you to, get into the mind, into the thinking and the communication with relationships, which can be good, but you don't want to go to an extreme with it. All right, you don't want to get just too mental with it, too other focused or whatever, to the point where it's lopsided. Because again, this is a time of you reflecting on your spiritual self. This is about the deeper truths and about you and your spiritual evolution, development. And you don't want to just get into that either. You don't want to just isolate either and just go into the 12th. All right, you want to have this balance between your spiritual development and relationships around Thursday. Then as we go into the weekend, Venus does sextile up to Uranus at the same time as that Mars trines Chiron. So with that healing over the weekend, there could be a bit of spontaneity. And this could be with you expressing yourself. Uranus in the 5th house has been showing you the immense importance of mixing up your self-expression, your interests, your hobbies, expressing yourself in new and different ways. And this can be a great weekend for that. It's just an opening for it. It could also be spontaneity, something new with relationships, since all that energy is in your 7th house. All right. So Scorpio Ophiuchus, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.